Welcome to another Founder Wisdom Pod. We have Max Echeverria with us today. Max is the founder and CEO at Eskuad, so he's powering field operations in disconnected environments. He had three exits, and he's an alien of extraordinary ability. So we're going to discuss that precisely from Chile and for now in Tampa, and he's usually in Atlanta. So this podcast brought to you by bookridegpt.com. If you want to create your own book with your LinkedIn content and get a nice Kindle book at the other end, you can go to bookridegpt.com. The first credit is on me. Max, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks for the introduction, Charles, and thanks for pronouncing the last name, and name of my company correctly. Uh,
Is
uh,
that rare? Like, most people mess up? I think it's time for rebrand if
no, no,
people are mispronouncing that all the time.
no, the company works fine. Esquad, they call it, and sounds well, but in Chile they call it Esquad, as you said it. And my last name is the more complex. Typically, my last name is a problem for most people, and I can't change it.
Echeverria.
Yeah, I can't change that.
Right.
uh,
Yeah, like my name too. I think
Comida?
I mean, Charles is good. A lot of people, yeah, Charles, but Cormier, I've been called like Cromier a lot and Cormier and all of that. So, yeah,
Yeah.
because it's French, mostly
Yeah,
French, right?
yeah, no, I could understand that it was French. I don't have a good pronunciation, but I can try. Colmier.
Right. Cormier, yeah, that's pretty good. So, yeah, what have
uh,
you been up to as of late, dude?
yeah, lately I've been growing and trying to make eSquad a reality across supply chains in at least in the Americas. So far, we have a dent in the US and some traction also in Chile, but also a few users in some other countries organically. So I believe we're doing well, but still need to grow it more. But yeah, and before, I mean, I've been a founder like most of my life. I have a background in engineering as industrial engineering and a master in operations research, which is basically optimizing stuff in real life. But most of my life, I've worked as my own
Right, yeah,
company.
I can see that. And you had three exits, right? Like most of your life, you've also built in Chile, Chile, which is like Latam startup nation, sort of. Tell us a bit more about that part of your life and what led to your first exit.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I was born and raised in like south of Chile. Geographically speaking, is center, but it's Concepcion, 500 kilometers south of Santiago, the capital. So in that city, I've done most of my stuff. My first exit was actually an accelerator because before that, I created a company that failed, and then I created another one that was still working after I exited the accelerator. But one like now the dean of the School of Engineering at my university, but before he was just working as a director of industrial engineering and supporting an innovation project. He contacted me because I had invented with a couple of my classmates an accelerator to help each other because at that time we didn't have any support. So we started helping each other like, hey, you're good at sales, help me understand sales. You're good at fundraising, teach me that. And basically we were doing that with mentors and it started working well, and then we sold it like super early to the university, but with some traction, some success cases. And then I ran it for 4.5 years as the CEO of the accelerator hired by the University of Concepcion. So basically that was my first exit. It was bootstrap, mostly like friends helping each other. We created a process which then we sold as a organization to the university.
That's
And
pretty exceptional, isn't it? Like even as a kid, I guess they saw potential in you. Like why are you special that way? Like why were you built that way?
I don't know. I mean, whenever I find an issue that nobody has solved, I try to solve it either for myself or for somebody else. So it's basically like I'm trying to be like a problem solver just because it's
Being
fun.
useful.
Yeah, and then it ended up being that people like it and some people pay for it, and that most of like the three exits has been that way. Uh,
And some people just think you're annoying. Max, why are you trying to solve everything?
yeah, yeah, probably. And actually, in high school, I moved from Concepcion to Santiago. In Concepcion, I used to play basketball at one of the schools there. We were one of the best teams in the country. So I was like used to play basketball all the time. And when I moved to Santiago, my school didn't have a team. So I became annoying again, and I convinced one of the professors, like the teachers, to be the coach, and we looked for the people that wanted to play. We end up creating a team. It wasn't that good, but 3 generations after, they won the regionals.
Nice.
So yeah, but I am the annoying guy asking for like things or saying sorry or stuff like
And
that.
you are always into sports. You still balance that in your current life to recover from the stress of entrepreneurship.
Most of the time, lately, I became a father, so I haven't had that much time. But before that, yeah, I've also became friends with people that end up being my like classmates at some accelerator, or then we met an investor that way. I play basketball with a lot of people. I hire my field sales person for Eskuad playing basketball. So so I found like really good talent playing ball.
Yeah, well, sports is very much like business, right? It's competition, it's cooperation as well. There's a way to keep the score. Just that I find that in business, most of the time it's a bit harder, right? The very few of us like actually track KPIs that make sense, right, and have a clear scoreboard, just like you were playing a game of basket. But I guess your background in operations and efficiency helps with that.
Yeah,
You're
it
muted.
does.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it does. Typically, I mean, it's a mix of like sticking to your plan, but adapting it to what the rest is doing. In sports, is another team or another competitor. In business, is a lot of people and things happening around, but also keeping an eye on how you're doing. Like basically, I see we use OKRs instead of KPIs, but it's basically the same idea. Like you have something that you're measuring yourself against. That and also like showing up to practice, which is like always keeping an eye on what's coming, studying. So basically, it's basically the same. Like waking up early.
Right. And a nerd like you, do you still believe in humans or do you outsource most of your jobs to AIs and agents that relentlessly execute their OKRs without any faults?
We use a mix. We use humans, but we help them with agents. I mean, also the agents. I mean, obviously because we're not experts yet, but um, they tend to go in the direction you want, but sometimes they fail because they misunderstand something. So that's
Just like
when,
humans?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why with the human help, like we help like coach them to go back to where we want them to go.
And how do you
But they're
make
more
sure to
efficient.
select the right humans, because these humans that can manage AI agents and think clearly are pretty rare nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically trial and error for me at this moment. But what I look for typically is people that is coachable. So like they think that the agents could be coachable as well because it's like leading by example thing. Also people that in the past they were curious, like when they were kids, like they started doing something that they weren't expected by the structure of the school or something. So like having a mix of like being curious and being coachable help you like stay ahead on everything. I'm trying to be like that as well. So I look for people not exactly with the same skill set, but with that basis in common.
Right. And you just had a kid. What will be your teaching, parenting styles to them so that they can fully develop into a functional humans, especially in an AI society?
Don't know. I mean, probably I'm gonna teach her some stuff and let her look for what she likes and support that. And if she fails, uh, like teach her that that's not a problem. It's part of like life and learning is the best that she can take from failure. Um, I guess those skill sets are transferable to like living with AI and stuff, and also teaching her that AI is as good as the information that you put into it and the information that like LLMs can find. So also be mindful of looking for the sources and trying to be criterious about the source and not believe everything. Like that, you can teach that when they're kids, like I guess, like that mindset.
Yeah, being skeptical. I think something that comes naturally to kids is asking question and being curious. But I think unfortunately the education system sort of blocks them on that, and that it teaches them to follow orders rather than to ask questions, right? So will you actually send her to a normal school, or will you send her to my school, couni.com, which teaches AI and entrepreneurship to 7 years old?
What worked fine for me was actually a mix, like having
I think your sound is. Are we back? Can you speak, Max? Test, test. I can't hear you, dude. I'll just refresh the stream and let's see if that's the bug, or maybe it's your audio. I can hear you now. I think it was like,
Can you hear me?
yes, yes. So yeah, we were talking about let's see here. Yeah, the AI entrepreneurship school or the common system.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I agree that that's one of the pathways. And what worked for me was having both, like having like a common ground with the rest of people, but do my own stuff by myself. In this case, I could try to guide that to happen. Like basically, regular common ground, like you do that if you want to do this pathway. But if you want to do another pathway completely different, like try to find your own education. In my case, I learned how to code. I learned how to be like an electronics engineer by myself, and then I got like certification on electronics because you're not allowed to do stuff sometimes. So it's a mix.
And your extracurricular stuff, was it you being a little rebel and being like, fuck school, I don't want to follow that. I'll just like try my own stuff. Do you think there was a correlation there?
Maybe because it's like me being annoying and don't having the resources at the standard, so looking for something else somewhere else. I believe
Yeah.
it's because of that. And also like your what you described, like the outside of the regular school model, is actually because of the agents and stuff. You can actually get access to a lot. It's like Matrix. Like in one of my favorite movies, I answer your
Yeah, I read
questionnaire.
that.
When Neo learns kung fu and says like I know kung fu, it was basically like using agents to super train you super quickly and learn the
And
skill set,
Neuralink, right?
and then you know kung fu.
Yeah, yeah. Or I think there was the movie Limitless, which is in my top five.
Yeah,
Limitless, right? The NZT pill,
yeah,
which
yeah,
arguably nowadays would be modafinil. Although, yeah, NZT was a bit different. No, I think it was somewhat similar to modafinil actually, because he had watched like kung fu movies, but the brain, the subconscious, had sort of repressed it. And then with that pill, with the proper biochemistry in this brain, he would remember like everything. And yeah, all of a sudden with track markets and all of that. If you watch that movie,
yeah, yeah. I watch it. It's basically like opening the superpowers of your brain to like accelerate learning in everything and take an advantage.
have you
Yeah.
ever tried modafinil?
No, 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 I haven't. Have
Yeah,
you?
yeah, I have it here. I take it probably like every weekend in microdose, and it doesn't like unlock all the doors, but it makes you very focused. So it's not like
Yeah,
Adderall, right? It's not like amphetamines. It's something cleaner,
yeah,
and you don't have the jitters. You're not like anxious, but you're very very focused. So me, I do cold email, right? So like in one day, I'll be like doing 16 hours of cold email, and the results of that is like
yeah,
30, 50 leads, right? Tens of thousands of dollars. So it's a pretty nice return on investment here. But yeah, just like everything, need to sort of dose it and be careful, right? Because I also have like a somewhat of an addictive personality, right? And if
yeah,
I
yeah.
would just listen to the addict, it means like, hey, take it the next day, take it again. And then the efficiency starts
Such low.
diminishing and then you're hooked to it, right? There's no
Yeah.
addiction with that one, but you get the picture, right?
Yeah, the benefits are decreasingly growing.
How do you stay productive? What's your productive stack?
I mean, I look for the hours where I have more energy and focus myself, and typically that happens after I do some sports or something like that. So I'm still energized with like I forgot the hormones, but like the hormones that are free when you're playing, like
Yeah,
serotonin.
serotonin, dopamine,
Yeah, those things.
endorphins.
And I typically use those hours to do the things that I need more focus on, and then I use like hours where I'm not as productive to take most of the calls and stuff where I can be like more chill. Like I can just talk and like keep an eye on what I need to do. I have already my plans set up, so I organize the hours to make it more efficient for me based on what I've learned before. The other thing I use is that like, but this is part of my traits, I would say. Every time I can like I can do multitasking since I was a kid, like a lot of things, but like once like one piece, then another piece of different things, not all this at the same time. But when I'm focused, it's just like I'm gonna focus on one thing. That's the goal, and I'm gonna achieve it no matter what. So I start doing that, and I can stay hours just focus on one thing. And but for that, I need windows, like bigger windows of time. So that's why I
Yeah.
do it at night or super early in the morning. It depends on the day.
Yeah, night is cool as well. Always make sure to have a night work session. I'm mostly a night owl on my side. I'm not really like an early bird, right? And it's funny because every time you ask ChatGPT, like the routine of X person, of like X
Early
successful
morning.
person, yeah, already like wake up at 4:30. But yeah, that doesn't make sense. I think like one thing I wish I would have knew earlier, and I wish like new founders would know, it's like the recovery time, right? Like you can't always be on. You
Mhm.
actually need to take your recovery seriously and to shut down your brain all at once. I read AI stories nowadays. Like I have ChatGPT tell me a nice nighttime story to shut down my brain, which oddly enough, most of the time is like a prison escape or like a jungle survivalism in the in Aconcagua in Chile or something like that, like Lost in the Mountains style. But yeah, that's quite important. And yeah, to your point about multitasking, think I think they yeah, it's like an ADHD quote unquote trait, but also think of Elon, right? Like that guy for sure is ADHD, but he's sort of stacking tasks and he has like multiple agents in his brain that can sort of execute in the background, just like a
Mhm.
code, right? And what I mean by that is like the subconscious in the back end is thinking about problems that he threw at himself a couple of hours ago, and shit gets solved because you're also executing something in the present that might contribute to that other problem. So I think there's very few humans that can do that, but you can also certainly picture agents doing that in the future, right? Like have multiple agents working on multiple problems with real-time feedback data, sort of.
Yeah, I mean, also I can relate to that, not at that level, probably. I don't know, but when I was, I mean, I still have that, but when I was in school, I got it like, more like frequently. There was like, for example, I'm doing an exercise, like a math exercise for preparing for a test, and then I'm doing something else, like writing or playing the bass guitar or something like that, like completely different. But you're always thinking because you couldn't solve it, and then at like 4 a.m. in the morning, you wake up with the answer. Yeah, so I always kept a book on the side of my bed, so I can take notes of that because I rely on that background agent working all the time because you're annoyed because you couldn't solve it, and it comes to you at some point. So
Yeah, I
it
can relate to that. Most of the time, it's like business, right? But I also had like songs in my sleeps, like good beats in my head. You know, like I tinker with EDM beats sometimes, and then I wake up with like a song that didn't existed but combines various songs, for example. So I think that the brain's a fascinating machinery that we don't really explain, but I think there would just be some biochemistry release like near the same area that you're fixing this mathematical problem, sort of leaks into that other brain area. And then like there's thinking in the background, there's neurons connecting, just growing basically and connecting, and then you feed electricity again to that same zone, and then it's solved. You know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
neurons are connected, and it's happening.
Also, some of the beats from the electronic music are similar to the like ancient music from like I don't know, like our ancestors. So like the beat itself help you like focus again and refocus without like thinking. So it helps you, I don't know like at what brain level, but basically like calms you down or like put you on the right position to think.
Yeah, music is straight up fascinating. Like my dad, he did a thesis in music marketing. Like when he was young, he's always been like quite obsessed by music. So definitely grew up around music myself. And yeah, it's like sync with the heartbeat and the respiration, right? Not sure if you ever listened to "Wake Less" by Marconi Union. It's
No,
like a
no, I
Tim
haven't.
Ferriss productivity song. You can go
Oh,
check it out,
let's see that.
or maybe I can play it while we finish this podcast here while you talk. But yeah, this one is like directly sync with your heartbeat, and it's
Oh,
really
okay.
relaxing and syncing with theta waves and so forth. So, results of that, you just get like very deep into a very deep zone, and again like serotonin, dopamine. Do you listen to music while you work, or?
Yeah, when I'm focused on like those long stretch, I typically use either EDM or trance, like old trance music from the 2000s, or I use like the classicals, like classic music, like Beethoven, like Tchaikovsky, like those guys, like really old school, and that helps me focus.
And that's the song here. Do you hear it?
No, I can't.
Oh crap! Yeah, sometimes it works the screen sharing with audio, but I'm listening to it right now. You're missing that, but it's really good. Yeah, I listen to song on repeats like this one on a daily basis. And you're like 16 hours later, and you've crunched 1,000 tasks, and yeah, it's pretty fun. So what's next for you? You had like three exits, right? Like, what are you aiming for this year?
I mean, for this year, I hope to grow Eskuad to be like the go-to tool, at least in forestry, because there's a lot of regulations coming. And if we can be the go-to tool for foresters, loggers, and like supply chain in forestry, then through our network we can jump to others. So I would be super happy if we can get to that goal. Like we're the go-to tool for field operators in forestry. That's this year, and then we can jump to others and scale.
And how will you
So
get there? Seems like a monumental challenge.
it is, but basically we're aggregating demand in, and also our product, the eSquad, we're leveraging network effects across supply chains. So basically, in a supply chain, you have a manager that needs information from their contractors and vendors to report on certifications. So they need to communicate in real life, like now they're doing it. So with eSquad, we're allowing them to communicate faster and with more data in the communication itself. So we're leveraging that. So that's the strategy, I guess,
And what's
to
your
get there.
GTM strategy? Like, what markets are you attacking and how?
I mean, currently we're targeting mostly forestry and logistical operators in the east coast of the US and also in Chile because in Chile we were born. But then in Chile we're also testing other markets that can relate to the same strategy.
And the website here, English. Yeah, forestry. I mean, it's huge industry still, and I see mining and energy and petroleum. Where are you focusing specifically?
Yeah, because we started in forestry and that's where we have the biggest customers. Like we have Fortune 500s and stuff. But in Chile, we already have oil and gas, we have maritime services, we have construction, we have mining, because it was kind of organic. Like we started with forestry, jumped to a port, and then in the port they service, I don't know, mine pits, and then miners started using it and stuff like that. So it's
Hmm.
basically organically, and in Chile we're using it as a lab market, like where we test everything before going deep in other markets. And it's as
Interesting.
you can see, it's like a product-led growth approach. So that's why we have the free tier.
Got it. Yeah, it seems like a decent niche to attack on the short term. Pretty sure you'll make something out of it. I mean, you have like three exits under your belt. Are you raising capital also this year?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we for eSquad, this is my first venture-backed company. Like the three
Right.
others were all bootstrapped. We sold to a venture-backed, to a firm of physicians, and to the university. Those were my three exits. But this one is a venture-backed company itself, and we're accelerating now. And the land and expand model across supply chains is working. The product, like with the free tier, is demonstrating that it works regardless of internet service quality, which all the other competitors say they do, but they don't. So that's why we came with the free tier, so they can try it and like trust us. And now we're raising capital to accelerate sales because we have been growing for 6 months in a row at 15.9% average. Last one at 25%. So like if we can keep that and accelerate it, like that's fine. Like
Have the tariffs affected you real quick?
but so the tariffs not yet, but it may. I don't know yet because I've seen some of my customers stopping investments in machinery because machinery is obviously affected. But I haven't seen them making decisions yet on software. I don't know because most of the tariffs are for goods, not for services.
Yeah.
Um, but it may. I don't know. I need to see.
May affect their clients and might freeze their budget, for example. Max, thank you for coming on. We'll have you for round two pretty soon. Where can people find out more about you?
Thank you, Charles. It was fun to chat. Actually, I wasn't expecting it to be this cool.
That's because you didn't watch the podcast before. I'm just kidding. So that was Max
No, no, I
Echeverria.
watched it. I
Oh yeah,
watched
you
it,
did?
but like personally enjoying it. Like typically,
Oh,
I feel like I'm just talking to somebody and being interviewed, but it was more like a chat.
oh yeah, dude, yeah, that's what we're about here. So thanks for the compliments. That was Max Echeverria and Charles Cormier for another founder wisdom.